This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Mtima Solwazi is the leader of an Islamic organization in Trinidad and Tobago. He served as the coordinator of an event which took place in Warrenville, Cunupia on July 31st, aimed at fostering closer union among Afro and Indo-Islamic organizations in the country. A lot of the discussion focused on the deep roots of Islam among peoples on the African continent, going back centuries. And the event paid tribute to several categories and generations of the Afro-Islamic community in Trinidad and Tobago. It was called Emancipation through Islam. Mr. Solwazi is our guest on this edition of 10 Questions. Good to have you.
Yes, good morning, good morning. Thank you for having me here, and a pleasant good day to your viewers, locally and internationally.
All right, well, thanks for agreeing to have this discussion in the afterglow of that event last Sunday. You have an idea of how many different organizations, how many different Islamic organizations that are existing in Trinidad and Tobago as we speak? Any idea at all? What the size of the community is?
Well, in Trinidad and Tobago, we have some main organizations that you will know of, so like the ASHA, the TML, the TIA. But then you have a lot of other organizations that are independent of those three organizations, and there are so many. I don't want to call and then leave out names, but they are scattered all over Trinidad and Tobago, right? Some years ago, because of that proliferation of so many smaller groups, there was an organization called the United Islamic Organization of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And they were an umbrella body for all these smaller groups who are not affiliated with the main bodies, namely ASHA, TML, TIA. But UIO is not actually functioning, or it should be right now. So the government having these groups operating independently. But there are many, many scattered all over Trinidad and Tobago. As I said, I don't want to start call names. I mean, leave out some, because I mean, not know all, but there are a lot. ASHA themselves have over 100 mosques in Trinidad and Tobago, and that is just one organization.
Yeah. There were some other establishing points I wanted to get to, but I'll skip that and we could come back to it if time permits. But let me ask, what for you was the significance of this event? So this was a sort of inaugural event. What was the significance of it, and how much hope you think was inspired there based on what I witnessed as a witness to that event last Sunday?
Well, first, I want to thank you for being present on Sunday, for accepting our invitation. And as I probably mentioned at our first interview, when Haji Nizam Mohammed and Wahid Majid approached me, and they have this, but Haji Nizam wanted to do something, right? And as I told him, and I'll say it again here publicly, that African Muslims have always been in the emancipation efforts from ever since, right? We have organizations and individuals who have participated in and contributed to the emancipation efforts in Trinidad and Tobago. So doing something for African Muslims at emancipation is not a new phenomenon, not a new thing. What I did tell them, I said, listen, let's award African Muslims for their contributions towards Trinidad and Tobago and to Islam. And I would say here to you, Andy, and your viewers, whilst doing the research to find these Muslims, Muslims of Afro-Trinidadian who contributed to this country and to Islam, I really felt a sense of pride and joy. You know, not everyone will agree with this, but when you see yourself, that is how you would view yourself, right? And many too often, African Muslims are portrayed in the media, right, and by those who don't even know, in a bad light. I'm not saying that we don't have our challenges like any other race, like any other group of people, but we should not be singled out as like the problem, you know? And at that event on Sunday, you were present. where we inducted into the Muslim Hall of Fame, Yunus Muhammad Bath, right, and Haji Yusuf Mitchell, and many persons present and after told me, we never knew this information, right? Both African and Indian Muslims were present, especially about Muhammad Bath, the work he would have done. One young brother told me, why weren't we taught this at secondary school or at university, right? That there were African Muslims who were purchasing the freedom of enslaved Africans. Yunus Muhammad Bath was one of them. Yeah. So, you know, that I really felt a sense of joy and pride, not of arrogance, but of, yes, we have contributed to Islam and to this country.
Right. I want to just go back on, I think it was Bilal Abdullah, when he was speaking, and he made the point that he noticed some things were happening, sort of caused him to do another think, that when emancipation celebrations began to flourish in Trinidad and Tobago, he used the term, what is it, Orisha? He said that it appeared to be sort of, one kind of Afro-Trinidadians who were in the forefront of it, and the same thing as he said with what is it, arrival, it appeared to be a sort of Hindu thing as opposed to others who were meant to benefit from it.
Right, so the organization which he represented, the Islamic Resource Society, right, over the past 27 years, have been hosting emancipation lectures and observances just for that same reason, because, as you mentioned, the emancipation celebrations resembles or takes the form of an Orisha celebration, Orisha emancipation. And this is not an attack on the Orisha community, because they have done a lot of work to bring an awareness of emancipation to our society, to our people, right? And hats off to them. But it is our duty as Muslims to also represent, because Muhammad Yunus Bath, he was a Muslim, right? So the Islamic Resource Society, of which Bilal Abdullah is a member, took that decision to commemorate emancipation over 27 years ago. I think this year was the 27th edition, to infuse into the celebration the African Muslim presence. And for the past 26 years, the same organization have been commemorating Indian Arrival Day, because again, Indian Arrival Day takes on a form of Hindu Arrival Day. And again, this is not an attack on our Hindu brothers and sisters who have done a lot of work to bring an awareness of this event or this time in history to our population. Kudos to them. But the ship they came on, the Fatal Razak, was also donated by Ibrahim, a Muslim. So they also had Muslims who came on the ship. So there was a Muslim presence on the ship, the name of the ship, and the owner of the ship. So the IRS, of which Bilal is a member, took that decision to, hey, let's infuse into this celebration the Muslim presence.
Yeah,
and that is why I said in my opening, African Muslims have been involved in the emancipation efforts from ever since. So what we did on Sunday was not new, but it was built on that foundation, right? The national awards, per se, you could say is a new phenomenon, but the celebration and the marking and the acknowledging or acknowledgement of African contribution to emancipation is not new.
Yeah, and I know you think this isn't new either. The sense in which we have in whatever kind of organization, whether it's religious, whether it's ethnic, whether it's nationalistic, whether it's regional, there are those people those subsets in there who for whatever reason want to be in the ascendancy, want the agency and the organization to be patterned after their way. And sometimes these things call for real kinds of negotiations to get a commonality that sort of overrides, I would use the term, sort of ethnic ascendancy. And it's no different from other kinds of attempts at solidarity, right?
Yeah, and this noble effort started with a small group of brothers, right? And if we were to measure and assess from the time I received that phone call from Haji Nizam and Wahid on the 9th of June at 1 p.m., on the 9th of June at 1 p.m., to when we had the event on the 31st of July at 10 a.m., if we were to assess and critically look at the challenges that we would have faced from that initial phone call to that event, and then you look at what happened on that event, on that day, you would say that it was a success in spite of. And yes, many people, and that's a human problem that we have, and I am not going to lose too much sleep, right? The effort that was done on Sunday was a continuation of all the efforts over the years to unite the two major groups of Muslims, the African and Indian. There are other groups who are Muslims, you know. There are Chinese, there are Syrian, there are other groups who are Muslims, right? But we tend to kind of zone in on the African and Indian experience because of our past experiences, right? So we tend to zone in on that. But this is building on those efforts in the past. And it is for us as Muslims to understand, as I said at the event, we have a unique history of Islam in Trinidad and Tobago, but we have an even more unique African experience. And we are hoping that the other groups, the other Muslims, would see the benefit in this and come on board. So we are inviting other Muslims. Now we know when too much
too many cooks
in the kitchen. Yeah. Oh God, boy, and you know, Andy, you know we in Trinidad, you know how we operate, eh? You know we're not easy. Everybody want to lead, right? But I think we could lead side by side. And in inviting others to the table, which was not designed on the 31st of July, that table was constructed back then by Muhammad Yunus Bath, right? All we did on Sunday was add a tablecloth. So we're inviting you now to bring your cutlery, bring your spoon, bring your bowl, bring your napkins, and let's sit down at this table and continue this effort of one, celebrating the contributions of African Muslims to this country, which is very important.
All right, we're going to take a break. We need to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. Emancipation through Islam. We'll be back in a moment. This is 10 Questions. Stay with us.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Welcome back to the program. The Oral Traditions Roots Foundation, that's his organization, Mtima Solwazi, talking with us about that event in Warrenville, Cunupia on July 31st. Emancipation through Islam, an attempt to bring the Afro and the Indo-Islamic organizations in the country under the same broad tent, as they say, the big umbrella. So let me ask you, to the extent that you would have run into representatives of organizations to whom this pitch was made to come together last Sunday, and they had reasons for not wanting to do so. How significant was that, or was that not to be taken seriously?
Well, I think any attempt to unify people, and if you have some friction in that process, it should be taken seriously, because persons have their own reasons why, right? And I don't think that because I said no in 2022 means I would say no in 2023, right? Because you cannot fault anyone for being, I don't want to use the word suspicious, but I want to more say cautious in terms of this, let's come together. And in many times we have put out that line of let's come together, and we see how ugly it could end up becoming, So the thing is, we're not saying, hey, come together under, clearly we're not saying come together under emancipation through Islam, right? We are clearly not saying that. What we are asking for is support of the event, because we want to recognize members from your community who have made contributions, right? And if you don't buy in as a leader into this initiative, then your members will say, I decline, I decline, I decline. And that is not beneficial to us as Muslims and to the nation. Listen, one awardee asked me, she said, Mtima, where you find this vast variety, this cadre of persons, right? It was amazing that, and the awards, viewers and Andy, was not generic, education, sports, culture, leadership. The awards was based on the individual. So you have Islamic leadership and scholarship. Then had Islamic leadership and community work, So it was based on the individual's work over the years.
Yeah.
We need to celebrate that. And we need you on board as a leader.
Yeah, and the fact that, so at the event, you all celebrated some of the pioneers, the groundbreakers, and then you had other categories, including what you call the current generation achievers.
Yeah, the new era groundbreakers.
Yeah, as many women as men. I noticed
that. and no, but so we had 3 categories. We had inductees to the Muslim Hall of Fame, right? Yunus Muhammad Bat and Haji Yusuf Mitchell. And then we had lifetime achievers, right? I am 50 years old this year. I turned 50 in July. And we awarded someone, Aliasa Abdullah, who embraced Islam in 1970 and has been doing that work ever since. So it's over 50 years he has been working in the field in Islamic education, and he was also a teacher for over 40 years, or about 40 years. So we had to really honor these persons, right? We honored Sister Anissa Abu Bakr, deceased, for Islamic work and national service, right? So we have to really show respect, show honor, show homage to these persons. But then guess what? Again, because of the work that Yusuf Mitchell and Muhammad Bath would have done back then, it would have made it easier for those from the 70s to continue that work. And then now, the new era groundbreakers, the heavy lifting is less. So you have person like Shian Marva from Enterprise. You have Alpha Senon, right, from Y-Farm. These persons now could be so innovative in their approach to deliver Islam through their service to humanity, through their service to this country, right? So that is the three stages, and each builds on the other. And that is why we need the support, right? We don't want nobody to come under there's no umbrella. There's a table. There's a table. We're inviting you to the table. Let's have lunch. Let's have dinner. And let's celebrate our achievers.
Yeah. But inside of that, the question of Islam's roots in Africa in a big way, I think that a lot of us need to understand that more carefully, because there was a point when, from some of what I heard on Sunday, stuff that I hadn't heard before, the extent to which sort of Islam predated Christianity in Africa.
Yes. So we would all hear about the story how Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, had sent his companions to a place called Abyssinia, which is now called Ethiopia.
Yes.
And literally to seek refuge from the persecution from the Arabs, right? From the members of their own tribe, right? Not other Muslims, but members of their own tribe, right? We also know for a fact that when Islam had arrived in India, it was after it was established 100 years ago in Africa, right? But these are things we still need to learn of and explore, right? So like, for instance, in Trinidad, what we don't really, I think, fully grasp on the ground is that there was a strong West African presence in Trinidad during the slavery. And even before slavery, I should say that before slavery, African Muslims have been coming to this part of the world, you know, on expeditions, on you know, whether doing trade or what. But I said these are things that we have to further explore. I am not an expert on that. I am still learning. I'm still sitting around those who have that knowledge to share, right? But these are things that we really need to explore further, right? And don't feel that our Islam or our history began on a plantation, you know, long before that.
Yeah. Well, what do you see lying ahead for this movement, as you say, for the coming around the table to continue this kind of solidarity?
Well, I think we had a very, very good turnout on Sunday last. We're still getting feedback from participants. We sent out a feedback form also to get it in writing. And I have received voice notes, phone calls, expressing how persons felt. They feel good. You know, the feeling good is really important, Andy. and viewers, when you feel good, you act good. When you feel good, you think good. You know, if everything around you is negativity and you feel as though, no, we have not done anything, right? So I think this could only grow. And those who may have had some concerns, I say some concerns, for this year, the concerns may be alleviated for next year, inshallah, God's willing. Because the intention for this event is only a pure and sincere one. It's from a place of celebration, it's from a place of recognizing, it's from a place of showing homage, honoring. It's not from a place of usurping, taking over, undermining. No. You know. And if it was from a place of that, you were present, Andy, on Sunday. In spite of that heavy rain, right? Central is a place known for flooding. That auditorium was filled to capacity. You were present. You know? Allah don't bless wrong things and evil. No. No?
Yeah.
So I think this thing could only grow and get bigger and serve the purpose that it was intended for.
Right. You made a point there that is deeply philosophical. It's not necessarily having to do with ethnicity or religion and so on. But a lot of time I've been struggling to find a way to address it. You just sort of put a nice play on it. This question about feeling good. You know, a lot of times some of us are criticized for doing somebody says, you do something and somebody says he only doing that to make himself feel good. But feeling good is a major motivator against doing wrong. You find out that if you feel good about yourself, you won't, or better about yourself than you do a lot of times, you won't do things that are disruptive and are dysfunctional.
And Andy, I want to add to that. Unfortunately, we have a culture. No, the Honorable Minister Fitzgerald Hines said that in his speech that we are afraid to talk to each other, right? And to add to that even further, we have a culture of, like, we don't see the need to say, Andy, well done. Hey, Andy, good job. You know, why don't we see the need to reward one another? What if we don't want the other person to feel good? Or are we feeling bad that they are feeling good or they are doing good? They're not about puffed up pride as displayed by the devil when Allah told him to bow down to man. They're not about that type of pride, you know. It's about feel, and there's nothing wrong in feeling good. You know? I just be amazed sometimes we walk around the tongue with our face like this. You know, good morning, and this rough. Now, if your voice heavy like mine, so you might be able to help it, right? But I'm saying, why all our actions and our utterances has to be this kind of aggressive tone, no? Smile. Professor Sam says, smile, like charity, feel good. I think we should be happy that we could feel good. And I'm telling you, Andy, when certain people using certain language and calling, as I said already, right, big man afraid cockroach, right? And if a cockroach shake flight, we gone. And to be referred to as a cockroach is not a nice thing. Somebody will come to kill you, Andy. If somebody know that you will use a cockroach, I'm coming to kill you. And if you have the artillery and the means to do it, it's sad. So I think it's high time we really put things into perspective, you know. And I am so happy, Andy, and I will say this here, I've got a lot of feedback directly, indirectly, and I'm so happy that the race card was not played, you know. I am so happy that the race card is an easy card to play in this country, was not played, because I think both groups of Muslims saw the importance and the need of this event, right? We had some perceived concerns and, you know, are not taking part and not accepting such an award, and I have to decline because of, and we had that, Andy. But I think that could work itself out as we push towards 2023, inshallah, goes with it.
Yeah, because some people would come on board as they think, as they should moves and so on. But initially, people have initial kind of hesitations and so on. But we have to leave it there, my friend. Thank you very much for talking with us, Mtima.
So did we cover 10 questions?
I think more than that. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Mtima Solwazi. This has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
WESN